The drama surrounding Caitlin Clark has shaken the WNBA to its core. What began as a season of anticipation, hype, and seemingly unstoppable momentum has ended in silence, frustration, and betrayal. For months, Clark's name wasn't just written across headlines. It was etched into ticket sales, broadcast schedules, and the fragile foundation of a league desperate for growth. Yet today, she sits sidelined, her season officially over, and fans are left with the bitter taste of unanswered questions. How did the WNBA allow this to happen? How did the biggest star in women's basketball go from lifting arenas to limping off the court after just 13 games? And perhaps most dangerously, what does it mean for the league now that its golden goose has been broken by the very system meant to protect her? From the very first tip-off of the 2025 campaign, the signs were already flashing. Clark was playing through a quad strain in May, her legs never quite moving with the same fluidity that defined her rookie year. By June, groin injuries began to creep in, first listed as precautionary, then day-to-day, as if the language itself could soften the reality that something deeper was unraveling. By July, the word tear surfaced, the dreaded confirmation of damage that no amount of tape or treatment could hide. And by August, the final blow, a bone bruise layered on top of everything else, the accumulation of weeks of punishment. The announcement finally came. Caitlin Clark was done for the year. Fans weren't blindsided. They had watched it unfold in real time. They had seen her absorb elbows, hip checks, and constant shoves while cutting through defenses. They had seen referees swallow their whistles possession after possession, acting as though Clark were just another rookie rather than the star whose very presence was responsible for television ratings doubling and ticket demand skyrocketing. In fact, the Washington Post documented the pattern outright. Clark wasn't being officiated like other stars. She wasn't even being officiated like her peers. She was being targeted, battered, and left unprotected. This wasn't one team testing physical limits. It was the entire league treating Clark like a punching bag, daring officials to call fouls that never came. From the moment Angel Reese's Chicago Sky began delivering flagrant shots in Clark's rookie year, it set a precedent. Opponents could foul Clark, laugh in her face, and skate away without so much as a whistle. And once that became acceptable, it spread. Teams across the league realized the best way to contain Clark wasn't through defense, it was through attrition. Bump her every cut, body her every screen, hold her jersey just long enough to knock her off balance. Little by little, the foundation of her game was being chipped away, and nobody stepped in to stop it. This wasn't just unsightly basketball, it was negligence. A star who carried nearly 20% of the league's flagrant fouls in her. Rookie year should have been a red flag, a clear signal to officials and leadership that she needed protection. Instead, it became an open invitation. For a league that loves to boast about expansion teams, rising sponsorships, and surging broadcast deals, it somehow missed the simplest truth. Those numbers existed because of Clark. Protecting her wasn't optional. It was essential. But the silence from the top spoke volumes. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert never once admitted the refereeing problem. Instead, when the season collapsed in front of her, her response was a sterilized statement filled with generic optimism, promising nothing specific. There was no acknowledgement of the cheap shots, no accountability for the officials, no vow to change how players like Clark were treated. Fans noticed, and they were furious. Because here's the reality. Clark's injuries weren't freak accidents. They were the predictable outcome of months of physical neglect. The quad strain in May? That happens when constant off-ball hits tighten and weaken muscles. The groin tear in July? A textbook result of repeated twisting contact on an already stressed core. The bone bruise in August? The natural consequence of an overworked body trying to play through damage that should have been given months of rest. This wasn't bad luck. It was the result of an environment where profit came first and protection came last. And make no mistake, profit was at the center of every decision. From May through July, Clark was rolled out as the centerpiece of every broadcast, every marketing campaign, every ticket promotion. The Indiana Fever, the WNBA, and even the NBA itself relied on her name to justify relocations into NBA arenas, to boost primetime programming, and to fuel merchandise spikes. She was the engine. But when that engine started sputtering, instead of pulling her off the road for repairs, they kept pressing the pedal until it broke entirely. Fans were strung along, told she was probable, questionable, game-time decision. When behind the scenes, the truth was already clear. She wasn't healing. She wasn't close. She was being held together by tape and grit while the league squeezed out every ticket sale it could. And when the inevitable collapse finally came, the betrayal cut deep. Fans who had paid hundreds to see her in marquee matchups felt conned. Tickets for the All-Star game, once over $200, crashed below $60 overnight as resale sites flooded with angry supporters desperate to offload seats. What was supposed to be a celebration of Clark in Indiana became a hollow shell, the air sucked out in hours. The financial fallout rippled instantly. Attendance dipped across cities where Clark wasn't playing. Television ratings, which networks had gambled entire primetime blocks on, plummeted the moment her absence was confirmed. Sponsors who had tied their campaigns to her name now saw their investment evaporating. This wasn't just a player injury. It was a business collapse, one the league itself created. The frustration only deepened when fans realized how preventable it all was. Clark had been signaling pain since May. By June, she was clearly limited. By July, her body was breaking down in real time. Yet each step of the way, the decision was made to push her back onto the court, not to protect her. Indiana fever head. Coach Stephanie White even admitted they had run out of time to get her back safely, a statement that revealed what fans already knew. Clark's long-term health was never the priority. Short-term revenue was. So now the backlash is here, and it's not soft. Fans aren't just angry, they're mobilizing. Boycotts of playoff games are spreading online, with supporters vowing to leave arenas half empty to prove a point. Ticket holders are demanding refunds en masse, and social media is flooded with calls for accountability, not just for referees but for Engelbert herself. Some demand her resignation outright, blaming her refusal to address the issue head-on for creating the environment that broke the league's most valuable star. What's worse for the WNBA is that this isn't just about Caitlin Clark anymore. It's about trust. The league leaned on her to elevate the sport, to bring new eyes, new sponsors, new opportunities. But by refusing to protect her, it revealed its priorities. To many fans, the WNBA looks less like a professional league and more like a marketing scheme, one that cashed in on Clark's name while failing to give her the most basic safeguard athletes expect: fair officiating. And once trust is broken, it's nearly impossible to rebuild. Because now, every day that Clark is sidelined, the questions grow louder. What does this mean for her career long-term? What does it mean for the Indiana Fever, who were built entirely around her presence? And most urgently, what does it mean for the WNBA itself? Can a league that lost its star through its own negligence survive the fallout? Can fans be convinced to come back once they've felt deceived? Or will the boycott movement drain the postseason of the very energy that Clark had single-handedly built? For now, the Fever fight on. Kelsey Mitchell continues to compete. Aaliyah Boston grows into her leadership role, and Lexi Hull embodies the toughness the team has been forced to adopt. But make no mistake, this season will forever be remembered not for their resilience, but for the collapse of the league's brightest star. Clark will return in 2026. She'll heal, rebuild, and likely shine again. But the question is whether the WNBA will still have the trust of the fans when she does.